like my little Mario protective case. I found that for 97 cents. Had to get it. Some people want to know about me outside of quads. Well, I come from a video game background, so I used to make video games. I used to own a video game company that I sold, and now I started a new one. So I'm still kind of like involved in that a lot. I'm a big space nerd. I love sci-fi stuff. I eat up any kind of sci-fi movie. I like to take photographs of space. Right where we're standing, actually, I film the cosmos for multiple hours of the night. I like pictures of unicorns, long walks on the beach. I make a really good Smeagol voice from Lord of the Rings. I like to sing in the shower, you know, little things like that. I play piano, I'm into music. So, and I'm not gonna do the Smeagol voice. That's like, I have to be in the moment. I have to be prepared for that. How much does it cost? That's another like really vague, it depends on what you're wanting. If you're wanting to go straight to the stuff that we're flying, you're looking at $1,500, $2,000 just to like even get going. This is assuming you don't have a transmitter, you don't have goggles, and don't have batteries and a charger and all this kind of stuff. So, but it can be as low as like, you know, $300 or whatever. So finding the perfect tune, you know, that's a really common misconception, I think, in the world of FPV right now, is there's no such thing as a perfect tune. It's really about the pilot. Like the tune is for the pilot, not necessarily the craft, or well, it's really more of an in-between. So there's no such thing as a perfect tune. So if I were to fly Mr. Steele's setup, I might hate it, and vice versa. So that's one thing you got to kind of get out of your head, is there's no like perfect tune out there that's going to make your quad fly perfect. So tuning for noobs, it basically goes on how you want your quad to feel, you know what I mean? If it's jerking around and it just kind of crappy, bring things down. If it feels really sloppy and sluggish, you know, bring things up. That's all I can say. But lower is better than high, in my opinion. I like mine to be a little bit, you know, it's easier to make a quad fly good when the PIDs are a little bit lower than they should be. So if you're too low, obviously it still sucks, but I would rather have something be a little, you know, more kind of, you know, as opposed to like kind of jerking around. So anyway, tuning for noobs, that's all I can really say. That's a whole different like vlog, a whole different topic. Is there such thing as P's being too high? This was a specific thing that I just got on Facebook. Yes, there is a such thing as being too high. I think he said that he was cranking his P gains up and was not really noticing any oscillation. And that can be the case with yaw and as well as pitch. If you go too high with roll, you're definitely going to see oscillation. Rates, Expo, and FPV camera angle. Okay, so rates and Expo is entirely depending on what firmware you're using. So KISS, Betaflight, I guess they kind of share similar rate systems, and Raceflight uses a completely different rate system. So I'm all on Raceflight. So in KISS, I run 2.3 RC curve, 1.0 on pitch, roll, and yaw, and I run 0 Expo curve. So I run 0 Expo on KISS, which it's not really, I know it sounds crazy, but on KISS, the way the PID controller works is it actually puts its own Expo in there. So when you run 0 curve does not really mean 0 Expo. Betaflight, I run 1.8 RC rate, 1.0 pitch, roll, and yaw, and I think 0 Expo as well. I can't remember, actually. Camera angle. Okay, so I fly at this GoPro angle, which is practically nothing. I'd say that's about 10 or 15 degrees. My FPV camera, I fly around about 30 degrees to 35 degrees ish. How do you achieve flow, or what is flow? So flow is a really hard thing to kind of to explain. But flow is kind of like think of it like, you know, water flowing through a drain pipe, or like a roller coaster. It's just kind of like your transition from one thing to another. It's just kind of it's really hard to explain, but that's basically what it is. It's kind of like how you're moving around, and the subtle, you know, changes you do to your trajectory, and how you flow from one thing to another. It's not about how many tricks you can do or how many flips you can do. It's about how you own it, you know what I mean? This is a Raceflight QAVR. This is a Lumineer frame. It's actually dirty. I actually crashed it earlier in the yard, so there's all kinds of grass blades and stuff all over it. These are my new sweet motors. Yeah. I think they look really cool with my props. I don't know, some people kind of wish I had blue motors, but I feel like blue motors and blue props is kind of weird. So I think it's a cool contrast. We're running the Revolution board. It's an F4 based processor, and we're running a custom firmware that I kind of was very much involved in, and that will be another day, but just know that I'm working actively with Raceflight to do some really cool stuff. And I'm still running the Acon BL Heli S ESCs. I still love BL Heli. I like BL Heli S. I can't really even recommend one or the other. They're both awesome. I don't really notice much of a difference between the two. I'd say BL Heli S is a tad bit smoother, but we're talking about maybe 5% or something that most of you won't even really notice. So that's my setup. This is what I like to fly. I have replicas of this. I also am experimenting with my own frame that I've been working on, and I know a lot of you guys want me to kind of show it and that stuff, but I'm just not. I'm not there. I definitely don't want to like sell stuff or show it until I'm very happy with it. So I also fly the Impulse RC Alien, which is also running similar configurations. They're all on Raceflight. So I finally dropped the bomb. I'm flying Raceflight, but I can't talk about. I'm also actively working on flight controllers and ESCs and video transmitter, you name it. So I'm doing a lot of, I rarely get to fly that much because I'm always out here testing equipment. I'm always like trying to find the perfect thing, the perfect storm. TinyWhoop is basically the Horizon Hobby little mini quad called the Inductrix, which has like a full FPV system on it, which you have to do yourself. It's kind of like a mod, but you can buy it already put together. I have mine from Drone Pros, which you can see here. I'm not even going to use a selfie stick and move everything around. I'm bringing everything to the camera. So this is what it looks like. It's a little tiny FPV system, or a little tiny mini quad with FPV system, and this actually has upgraded motors on it. So Drone Pros with a Z, they sent this to me. It's a lot of fun. I'll probably show some kind of footage later, but really fun. Really cool thing to get into if you want to get like the ladies into it, or your wife, or maybe a friend's interested, or maybe you want to start out. It's a very cheap way to kind of get into a full FPV experience. You can fly it around inside. You can bump into people, things like that. Then we have the LaForge system, which is a receiver diversity setup for the Fat Shark goggles, which I have not had any luck with that system at all, so I can't really recommend it. But I have seen local guys here, Kevin Stinger Swarm runs it, and I've seen it perform amazing, but for whatever reason my unit does not behave properly. I did the whole calibration process and I cannot get it to work well. So my standard Next Wave receiver works better than the LaForge, and that's sad to say. I'm not talking bad about UVAD or anything. I'm sure that maybe it's the particular unit I have, but I just can't recommend it right now. My motors. How sweet is this? So there's only 10 of them in existence right now. Look at that, it's fresh just for you. I'm gonna open it right here. So, these are the first 4 production set of these motors. So I had prototypes, but we have magnet slipping issues, and now we have it solved. So these are the first 4 production versions of my motors, and this is the 5th one in case I explode one. I've crashed this several times and I have not had any durability problems with them yet. I've never had any magnet slipping or anything weird. So one thing that's kind of like a common, I don't know how close I am to the camera. I feel, okay, anyway, I feel awkward. All right, so I feel like I might be like all up in the camera's face. One thing I want to go over first is those of you that are familiar with Lumineer or their motors, is Tiger produces Lumineer's motors, and they're affiliated. They work together to produce Lumineer motors. So they come out of Tiger Factory, the Tiger Motor Company in China. So Tim, the owner of Lumineer, he opened up his own motor factory, and this is the very first line of motors to come from his factory. That means every part in here was handmade and hand selected. All these pieces were made at his factory. So this is the first official Lumineer motor. This is not coming from anywhere else. Everything came out of his factory. I also have the standard steel bearing version. So you guys might be wondering what's the difference between this and the other one. There's 2 of them. They're the exact same thing, except one is running steel bearings, and this is running ceramic bearings. So in theory, ceramic bearings are smoother, thus increasing efficiency and heat dispersion and things like that. So will you notice a power difference between them? No, you're not going to notice any power difference between this and the steel version, but I have had a lot less tuning problems on these. These just fly amazing. Power-wise, they're very similar to the current 2206 Lumineer 2350 kV motors in terms of power. They're very similar. If you flew them, you probably wouldn't be able to know the difference in terms of actual performance. Now, another topic is the ceramic bearings. Are they weaker than steel? They are, in fact, not weaker than steel. They are stronger than steel, which means theoretically these can handle a harder impact. But the problem is, when ceramic fails, would mean if you hit hard enough and the bearings will shatter and they are completely unusable. Like it's a dead motor. Whereas steel, they'll kind of bend and warp, so you can still fly it, it'll just kind of fly like crap. So there's the trade-off, is like technically these will be able to handle a harder impact than the steel bearing version, but the steel bearing version could still fly technically even after it reaches that critical point where these will be a total failure. So keep that in mind. I'm gonna give a shout out to one of the local guys here. His name's Sakib. I'm gonna put a link to, he has an Etsy account, all kinds of 3D printing stuff that he does, and he does a lot of really cool stuff. So I don't know if you might have noticed, this little case is 3D printed by Sakib, and it's a TinyWhoop case. And how cool is that? Look at that. It's got battery slots. I only have 3 batteries in here, but it will hold, you know, batteries around the edge. And I think he even has some that will hold it in there too. But very cool, very durable material. So he has a lot of other stuff too. He did this little case for me here, and it's essentially a Dex, what do they call it, creative Dex mount. And I literally just zip tie it onto the top, you know, and it works really well. I was getting tired, you know, my original style of holding the GoPro on was basically doing a foam wedge, and then I would run a vertical strap around it. And I was breaking straps a lot because, you know, we're flying tough, we're hitting things. And when you hit hard enough, you know, the G's will kind of yank the GoPro forward and you'll snap battery straps. I was literally going through battery straps like almost on a daily basis. So this was, so this was something that he printed out for me. It's that flexible material. I don't know anything about 3D printed stuff, but very awesome, and it's cheaper than buying creative Dex mounts. So check it out. He's a cool guy, and he's helped me out a lot, you know. So, all right, so F3 Expo is this year, the beginning of November, the first weekend of November. I don't know what day that is, but anyway, I'll get the date. I'm actively a part of the development, so it's going to be awesome. It's going to be epic. It's just going to be a giant FPV festival all weekend. People are going to be flying. I mean, everyone can fly that comes, you know. It's $15 to come in. We're going to have all kinds of different race courses and freestyle courses, and it's going to be a good time. A lot of good people, good food, you know, all that stuff. So come on out. If you're not planning on coming, then I'm sure you'll see tons of videos coming from that. So anyway, take care, guys, and thanks for listening to me ramble on for like